Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. And now, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, whether you're tuning in on the radio dial in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM or through WYADonline.com. We're glad you all could be with us. Also, those joining us through our online affiliates around the world, including Conversations Radio Network. We're glad you all could be with us as well. I'm so excited to welcome back author Pam Jenoff to our program today. Pam is the author of the brand new book called The Lost Girls of Paris. We'll talk to her about the new book, what it's been like for her to see the amazing response to it, and of course, let you guys know how you can be able to get it for yourself. Pam, hello to you, and welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Hey, the pleasure is definitely all mine. So let's start off with the runaway success, really, of the new book. I mean, what has it been like for you, Pam, to see the way the people are responding to The Lost Girls?
Well, it's a bit surreal, and it's very, very gratifying. The Lost Girls of Paris is actually my 10th novel. So I'm not it wasn't sort of an overnight thing, but it's been really lovely because, I put a lot of my heart into these books, and I always hope they will be well received.
Well, I think the thing about you, Pam, that I've appreciated, as a storyteller is that, no matter when you are setting a book in a certain location or what type of characters, there's always something that kind of is so easy to relate to. Is that one of the things that you hear from your readers a lot, that even though it is historical fiction, they're able to kind of find something in it that kind of pulls into them and kind of makes it relatable to them?
Thank you. I do hear that, and I think the themes are timeless, whether it's the women who are empowered or the particular characters. I like when people ask me which one I relate to, and then I'm like, I can see how people relate.
Right. And I think that's it. So as you mentioned, you've had an amazing journey with this. I mean, as I said, this book right now at the time we're having this conversation is #1 bestseller on Amazon.com. Have you always known that storytelling was that thing for you, Pam, that was going to be the gift that you've been given?
Well, I was always one of those little kids who wanted to be a writer, and it was never short stories or poems. It was always going to be novels. I never quite got started for many years when I had the time, and finally the turning point for me was 9/11. I had just become a lawyer at a big city firm practicing for just about a week when 9/11 happened, and I thought, being a lawyer is great, but I've always wanted to be a novelist, and I have not gotten started. I don't have forever, and that was the moment when I began to take writing seriously.
And I think, it definitely is something that suits you well for sure, Pam, because as we've talked about even on this program, even before this conversation, I mean, these characters, really do leap off the page and become real, for the reader. Where did the idea for The Lost Girls of Paris come from?
So this book was inspired by stories I found of the real British women who had served in the Special Operations Executive, or SOE, as it was called. And this was an agency created by Winston Churchill in the darkest days of World War II, where he wanted agents to go behind enemy lines and, in his words, set Europe ablaze, to engage in sabotage and subversion to slow the Germans down so that it would be much easier when the cross-channel invasion finally happened for the Allies. And although the original agents were male, they quickly discovered that men were easily detected in wartime, say, France, and so they decided to try sending women over.
Wow. And I think that in itself is such a big thing because it really does show two things for me. One, I think that readers will pick up on and probably reflect on is that it really shows that, when it comes to history, the impact that women have had, on the world that we live in today, but also, too, the courage of the women, right? What was that like for you to be able to see how that courage kind of took place?
Well, it was mind-boggling. Women came from all walks of life in Britain. Many of them were mothers leaving children, and they served SOE, and they went over with the full knowledge of just how dangerous it was. SOE became a very prominent target of the Germans for, capturing, and at one point the average life expectancy of a radio operator for SOE might have been not more than a few weeks. So the notion that these women just went so freely and gave so freely was a really powerful one. And, it's interesting. The Lost Girls of Paris has been optioned for film, and one of the people driving that project, the real person behind it, said to me for the Me Too moment when women are finding their voice.
And how ironic, right, to say that to a storyteller who's found her voice. I mean, do you? I mean, it has to be an amazing feeling for you, Pam, as you mentioned, to have done this work. That again, as I said, it's very obvious it's a gift that you have, and then to have it recognized. You're a best-selling author yourself. I mean, what has that been like for you to know that you have not only found your voice, but you're sharing your voice literally with the world?
Well, it's a very meaningful thing, and it's a responsibility that I take seriously. It's a very deep responsibility to me. I had a powerful moment on book tour last weekend. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and a reader was saying to me how much my words affected her and changed her. And my response to the reader was, as she's sitting here telling me this, that her words were having an equally powerful effect on me, because the next time I was missing my family on book tour or wondering why I get up at 5 a.m. to write, I was going to remember what she said. So it's very much a dialogue with the reader.
Well, The Lost Girls of Paris is all about action, being willing to take action. Your career has been all about the action. And I bring that up, Pam, because there are people out there who I'm sure, talk about the things they want to do. What is it do you think has been the key to your going past talking and actually putting forth the effort that has made your career possible?
Well, thank you. A few things. There's certainly a lot of serendipity. I feel very blessed that I've been in certain places for opportunities. I've had incredible mentors that allowed me to see the world from the shoulders of giants, And then there's just a little bit of discipline to sticking with it, and a little bit of tenacity, all the times that I didn't get published, and those sorts of things. When I look back in hindsight, I might have given up. And so it's been a combination, I think, of work and luck, really.
Right. Well, definitely the work shows itself. For those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome back best-selling author Pam Jenoff. We're talking to Pam not only about her new book, The Lost Girls of Paris, that is an immediate bestseller. You guys can get it, of course, through our friends at Amazon.com in a variety of ways, as well as through your favorite bookstore, but also, of course, about what inspired this particular book. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, Pam, we're going to remind our audience how they can stay connected with you and maybe see you while you're out touring, is, of course, about the surprises. Because a lot of this, of course, for people like myself reading The Lost Girls of Paris is brand new information. I mean, I never even knew about this group of women. What surprised you the most in researching and writing it?
Well, a few things. First of all, obviously, the heroism of these women, that I'd never heard of, that they just the scope and the breadth of their exploits were just incredible. And the second thing was the betrayals. Right in 1944, before everything sort of happened, the SOEs largely fell. Many of the networks fell, and it was due to a series of betrayals. And I don't want to go too deeply into it and ruin the book for people, but it's a fascinating story when you look at sort of the levels to which these deceptions and betrayals might have gone in real life. It's a fascinating thing. And I will say that I also am amazed at the stories I still find after, decades of writing about the war.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is what makes your work in particular, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking with you, but it makes it so fascinating for people like myself because, as someone who loves being able to discover something new, so knowing that something is inspired by true events makes me then want to go out and do my own research to find out more. Is that also something you're hearing a lot, Pam, that people have been more intrigued and want to find out more information about this?
And that's sort of my goal. And one of the wonderful things about this topic is that there's a wealth of nonfiction that has been written about SOE. In particular, there's a book called A Life in Secrets, which is about the spy handler Vera Atkins. So if people are interested, they can certainly go read more.
But first, make sure you guys pick up the new book by best-selling author Pam Jenoff. Again, Pam's new book is called The Lost Girls of Paris, available now, as I mentioned, of course, on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. And Pam, you mentioned the tour. How can our audience stay connected with you?
The best way is through my website, which is www.pamjenoff.com. And I also invite readers always to connect with me on Facebook or Twitter or email or wherever they're hanging out online.
So make sure you guys take advantage of that opportunity, connect with Pam on Facebook to be able to see where you guys will be able to, of course, be able to find her, but also could see about the new updates as well. Pam, really appreciate this opportunity to be able to speak with you, and it goes without saying you're welcome back here anytime. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation with Pam, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right after we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media sites. So head over to Facebook.com/CyrusWebb or go to Twitter.com/CyrusWebb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make it a great one.